It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Pittsburg State's head volleyball coach, Coach Jen Gomez. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college volleyball?
Uh, I've known since I was little, like 12, 13. I got to see my cousins play volleyball and I just loved everything about it. And so I always was like, man, I would really like, I knew I loved volleyball and I played three sports, but I loved volleyball. And then through college and all that, I was like, it would just be so much fun and way to stay connected into the game. And I just got that opportunity right out of college as my college coach said, hey, you want to be my student assistant while you finish your degree? And I said, yes. And then as soon as I finished my degree, we got our first full-time assistant coach position at Pueblo. And Coach Soji said, I want you to be my assistant. And I said, okay. So I got to jump right in and here we are.
Of course, what was that experience like going to Community College of Gardner City and then going to Pueblo?
I think going to a community college for me, grew up in Dodge City, Kansas, and it was very limited club experience. I didn't have that. And so I needed more time to develop. And so getting to go to community college, number one, it was close to home. Number two, it was really affordable. And I got a scholarship and I was able to get my gen eds out of the way, kind of figure out what I wanted to major in. And I got to play right away. And I think that's really important because sometimes as freshmen and whatnot, had I went to a 4-year school, I don't know if I would have played right away, and I don't know if I would have learned by doing as much as I did. So I was just thrown in the mix at community college, and I had to learn and grow, and it was just a great experience doing that. And then getting to go to Pueblo from that, I think I was a little bit better prepared because I already knew a little bit about college volleyball. I'd already played against international players and things like that. So it was just learning then how to fit into what my 4-year college coach wanted me to do at Pueblo.
Of course, what was your senior year like going to Pueblo and getting to put on that jersey?
Oh, that was awesome. I had a great experience at Pueblo. Uh, I kind of figured it out. We were doing well, and it was just knowing that it was the last time I got to play. It was really special, and I had a really great group of seniors around me too. And we just loved playing the game and loved playing for each other, and getting to play that last year and do well and just it was fun. I loved it. And I miss playing, and that's why I coach, because that's the only way I can really still stay connected to the game of volleyball.
Of course, coming out of Pueblo, what was that experience like going to your alma mater to get started in coaching?
Oh, getting to coach there, it was great. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was hard because you go from being a player and your best friends and your buddies to now you're having to coach your teammates. And so that was a learning experience on how to separate yourself and learn how to be the coach side versus the player buddy. So that part was hard. But getting to coach under my coach and learn, I just can't tell you enough that experience was like. It was life changing for me. I learned so much, and I just really attribute my growth and learning in the game of volleyball to that experience.
Of course, during your time at Pueblo as an assistant coach, what was that like getting to see those players putting on that same uniform that you put on?
It was awesome. I think that's one of the biggest things is I got to not only see people come into the program and the players that were there that played with me excel and go through and graduate, but just to keep recruiting kids into the place that I loved, that was really special to me. And I still have a lot of pride in Pueblo, and I hope, I wish nothing but the best for them. And I just loved seeing people follow that same path, and I wanted them to have that same experience that I did.
What was that experience like when you got to take over and become the head coach at your alma mater?
Oh yeah, that was crazy. That was awesome. I got to go back home. I mean, my parents had moved out to Pueblo by then, so my sisters had also went to CSU Pueblo. So it truly was homecoming for me in that I got to go back as the head coach and really try to leave my mark on that program in my way and try to revive that program and re-energize because I think they kind of had a lull for a while. So that was fun. It was a hard challenge, but I loved it. I loved letting, bringing back some energy. And I think being a former player, that was one of my recruiting keys was, hey, this is special to me. And there's a lot of pride that I have in Pueblo. And I wanted other people to come in and experience that and just see what we had there. And they had great facilities. They had big upgrades. So I didn't think recruiting was as hard as what it had been back when I was an assistant coach. But I just wanted people to have that same pride. And I wanted to reinstate that pride in Thunderwolf athletics.
Of course, what was that experience like getting to take over at that school after your coach obviously left that school?
So I was actually there two or three coaches after the coach that I had had. So Coach Shoji had been gone. When I went to Angelo State, after I left Pueblo and went to Angelo State, Coach Soji was only at Pueblo another 2 years, I think. And so it had been a hard transition, and I don't think there had been a lot of continuity in the coaching for a while since then. So getting to go back and we kind of had to rebuild. They'd had some struggles and they'd had some losing records. So our focus was to build that tradition again and get people invested to where it was a standard to make the RMAC tournament. It wasn't like, oh, yay, it was a shock. It was, no, this is the standard. We make the tournament. We compete at a high level. We need to put Pueblo back on the map. And so that rebuilding process was hard. There wasn't a lot of there wasn't any traditions. There wasn't a lot of pride in the program at that time. So that part was hard. And I think that's what the challenge was for me. But getting to follow and get to go do that again and be part of, the volleyball program as a head coach, that was just it meant a lot to me.
Of course, going to Angelo State as assistant coach, what were some of the things that you learned to help you become a head coach?
That was the first time that I had ever been in college, worked with a head female coach. So Kathleen Brassfield was also the women's athletic director at the time. And that was a different dynamic too. So I got to see a female head coach and work under her. And I saw her as an administrator too. So I got to do a lot of the volleyball stuff because she was busy with her administrative duties. So there was a lot of reign that I had to kind of handle and do. And so I learned a lot about all of the administering a volleyball program. So not only was I doing recruiting, we were practice planning, we were talking about the weights training program, coordinating study halls, doing all this stuff that I didn't have as much of insight to at Pueblo. I did know that, the practice planning and recruiting and all that, but the other things that you don't always do. So that was really neat to see. To be in a conference as big as the Lone Star Conference, that was kind of shocking because it was just such a big conference. And so that was really fun. We were really well funded. And so I got to do things like fly to go recruiting in one day and fly back. I mean, that was just something that we just didn't do at Pueblo, and we weren't funded as well as Angelo State was at the time. They've since changed, but just the experience that I had there really kind of opened my eyes, and working under Kathleen Brassfield that first year, like, she was just awesome. And I learned a lot about the path of women in athletics and how hard that had been, because Title IX, she had talked to me a lot about that and impressed upon me about how important it is for us as female coaches to carry that on and to press that upon our female athletes about the opportunities that they have and taking full advantage of those opportunities, because it wasn't that long ago that they didn't have them. So that was really a big eye opener for me.
Of course, going to Oklahoma City, what was that experience like becoming the head coach there?
Scary. And it was the best and the scariest experience of my life, because here I was, my first head coaching job, and I get hired at Oklahoma City University to bring back a program that had been, they cut the program back in 1984. So here we are in 2006, I believe, and they're starting a volleyball program, and I'm the head coach. And there was no volleyball court on the floor. There were no lines painted on the floor. They didn't have a volleyball in the gym. They didn't have anything because they hadn't had volleyball since the 80s. So this was completely foreign to almost everybody there. And they're like, well, and I was looking around going, okay, it's my first head coaching job. What do I do first? And so I had called my head coach that I played for, Coach Shoji, and I was like, what do I do? And he said, the first thing you do, you got to get players, you got to get equipment, and you got to get a schedule. Worry about those things. So that's what I did. It's like, okay, I got to recruit players. We got to get equipment so we have it. And then we got to find people to play. And so I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I had because I was so worried that we weren't going to get any of that, right? But we were funded well. We were able to get the equipment we needed. We were able to build a schedule. But this is back in the day when coaches, we kind of had to schedule our own stuff still. So that was a learning opportunity for me too. It wasn't like, oh, here's your schedule and you just go play. No, we had to schedule it. We had to schedule our own officials in that conference. Like, it was a lot, but it was such a great learning experience because I was just kind of thrown into the fire. And I think you either learn how to sink or swim at that point. And I finally had to figure that out. But there was a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tears, but we made it and it was awesome.
Of course, during that time, what was that like building that program and building the culture from the ground up as it didn't have a program previously?
I think it was actually easier than what you get when you come in and you take over a program because it was all mine. Like from the very beginning, everything was what I wanted. And sometimes that's a lot easier. I think that we had the time to get the players in that we felt would make the right fit for us. And I mean, you go in and you win 20 plus games every year. You're like, oh my gosh, does this happen everywhere? But it was such a great experience in that I was able to do it my way and do it my way from the ground up. And I don't know that everybody always gets that opportunity. And I think when you get to start a program, it's something really special. And as hard as it is, just feeling that sense of accomplishment at the end of it. Like after my 5 years there, it was like, man, we really did something cool. And it was the kids that bought in. It was the university that supported us. I mean, it was just such a great experience for me. And I think that helped me a lot as a head coach because sink or swim, girl, you got to figure it out. And there was a lot of learning that happened in that 5 years. And I had to grow as a head coach because I don't think I was a very good head coach. I think I'm a better coach now that I'm a mom than I was when I was first starting out in my 20s. And I just thought I had the world by the tail and knew everything. And you learn you don't know everything.
Of course, coming to Pittsburgh, how has that helped you in having that head coaching experience in the last two schools with
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. I drew on that experiences a lot because this was kind of reshaping a program that had been down in the kind of the bottom of the conference for several years. And so again, it was a rebuilding opportunity, same thing that we did at Pueblo. And I really love either starting a program or that rebuilding aspect of it. I think when you go into a program that's already established and really good, I don't think you learn how to take your knocks. I don't think you learn how to reset a culture. I don't think it's something that you're like trying to figure out how do we flip that and make it better. And so I was able to use my experiences from Oklahoma City and from Pueblo and restarting that program to kind of reset the culture here. We had to establish who we wanted to be. What are we about? We're about pride. We're about trust. We're about tradition and the team. And we really had to start from the ground up. And I had to get players in here that were bought into those things. And everybody here in Pittsburgh was so ready for volleyball to be good again and to have that tradition and that pride. And so that was really fun to see that change happen. And I mean, but again, it was a very hard transition in that those first couple of years here were not easy. And it was just, again, remembering what we did at Pueblo, how we had to get kids in that were going to be program kids and good for the community and good for our university and good for volleyball. And I think just having that experience and that remembering to be patient through the process and enjoy that process, that was really good.
What was that feeling like when you became the head coach for Pittsburg State?
I was thrilled. I grew up in Dodge City, Kansas, which is on the western side of the state, and I had never in my mind ever imagined that I would be on the eastern side of the state because we didn't need to go over there, right? But when I came on my visit here and really got to see what the community was like, and I saw gorillas all up and down Broadway Street in every business, and I saw the pride in the Pittsburg State. You can't go through Pittsburgh and not know about Pittsburg State. And that's what I loved. I wanted to be part of that tradition, that feeling of being so immersed in your community and your university and having, there we go, and having that sense of just connection that was so great. And I was so excited to be here, so excited to bring this program back up to the top. Our goal is to be in the top of the conference in the MIAA, which I think is one of the top D2 conferences in the country. And we need to put ourselves in contention for the NCAA playoffs. And we're on that path. And that's what I said we would do here, is we're getting there. And I just have a lot of pride in that. And I still believe that Pittsburg State is just an amazing place to be. And I think everybody that comes here on our campus, they start to see that, and you see the connection to our community. And it's unlike any other university I've been at.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built for Pittsburg State?
Yeah. We are the things that's on our wall, and we had our locker room redone, and we have the pride, team, and trust. And that's what we kind of really talk about here is when you buy in, and this is a fit that's not only about being here to go to school, but it's a fit in our community. It's a fit for the volleyball program, and you're going to leave this place better than what you found it. And so getting players to buy in and have that sense of connectedness and pride and trust, and it's about Pitt State. That's what we're about. We're giving back, and we're trying to be better each time that we step out there on that floor. And I think that the players we have now, they're invested in it. They love Pitt State. They love Gorilla Athletics. They love being part of Gorilla Nation. And it's just something special. And I can't really put into words how amazing it is, and this sense of pride that we all have in this, and my players. And I think it shows that we have alumni that they come back every year and they play in our spring tournament. And they're all so excited. And they're like, gosh, remember that first year? Or they'll say, remember back when we played here? We have players that are quite a bit older. Remember back in the early 2000s when Pitt State was really good? And just having that connection from the past to the present has been so cool to see.
Of course, as a head coach, what is it like getting to play in your conference? And who are some of the teams that you coach against?
This conference is amazing. The MIAA, like I said earlier, is, I feel, one of the toughest conferences in Division II. Maybe besides the Northern Sun, and that's our region. So I really feel like we battle all the time against top 25 teams. And so Nebraska Kearney's perennial powerhouse, Northwest Missouri State, Washburn, Central Missouri, those top four, Central Oklahoma's in the mix. Like, those top four programs are ones where you're looking every time you can't step on the court against any MIAA team and not be prepared, because the competition is so good. And I think that makes me a better coach, because I'm having to prepare my players better for that every time we step on the floor. And it's fun to play in a conference where teams are nationally recognized, because when you can get to that level, then you know that you're actually making big strides and you're putting yourself in a position to be successful. So those are the best four teams.
What is that like, obviously, having teams like Washburn come home and play y'all versus going to Washburn and playing them?
Oh my gosh, I'd much rather play Washburn at my place than theirs, because, they have a good facility. They have a great following too. But we had them here this last year at our place, and our place, when the Gorilla fans are so good. We have such a good following in volleyball, and it's fun to get to play those really good teams in front of our home crowd and our student section and our fans. And I mean, anytime you can play at home, you want to, but we play everybody home and away. So we know, even though we get them at home, we're going to have to go play at their place. And you just have to be ready to handle that atmosphere, because it's a competitive environment.
What is that home game atmosphere like at Pittsburg State?
We have the big Jumbotron out there, and they put our stuff up there, and that's fun. And the fans are pretty loud. They're pretty vocal, especially our older crowd. They have their own cheers at times, and that's kind of fun. And we always know who it is by what they're yelling. They have a couple that they use relentlessly. And it's just nice because I feel like our athletes support each other. Our women's basketball team comes, our men's basketball team, baseball, softball, like we're all pretty tight-knit group. And I love seeing that they support each other. But it's just a fun environment to be in. You just got to be there to see it. I mean, it's awesome.
What is that feeling like as a head coach to take that court for the first time on game day?
I think every time for that first year, that first home game of the season, you're always excited because number one, you want people to see the product that you're putting out. You want people to reconnect with your players. I want them to say, gosh, they've gotten better. They're doing the things that, each year they're getting better. They're a better blocking team. And I love seeing that here. And again, this community is small. There's 20,000 people here. So you're bound to run into somebody every time you go to the grocery store or to the bank or whatever, and they're going to talk to you about volleyball and they're going to tell you what they think. So I always feel good when I walk in the grocery store and they're like, hey, saw your game. It was great. Kids look good this year. We're expecting big things. So I love that.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college volleyball?
We start early on, so a lot of them are playing club ball. A lot of these kids have come to our camps when they were younger, and so we kind of have their names. We've been watching them, and then when their junior year comes around, we usually get them in here. If we haven't already during summer camps, we get them in here on unofficial visits during their junior year, show them around, let them see what Pittsburg State's really all about, how the community kind of interacts with us. We go out to local restaurants and I think they really get a good sense of who we are. My players are part of the recruitment process. They get to practice with us if they're juniors and seniors. And so just kind of immersing them in our program right away and talking to them about who we are, what we want. But of course, each year depends on, what my recruiting needs are. But most of the time I've seen these kids for the past couple years. We're kind of ahead now on our recruiting calendar. So I'm looking at sophomores right now for the 25 class, and we're like, okay, what's next?
Of course, as a head coach, what are some of the things that you look at in those prospective student athletes?
I want players that are very selfless, that are going to be committed, that are willing to set their ego aside and be part of our process and our culture. I want players that are coachable. I want people that want to learn. I want people that want to be part of something bigger than themselves. I recruit good students because I feel like you're here to get your degree. And if you're not going to be good in the classroom, then that's not going to help us. So I want athleticism, of course, and each position is a little bit different. But really, I want people that are good fits and good fits for me. Can I coach them? Are they good with our current players? Do they understand about Pittsburg State and small town USA and what it's like to be so visible in our community and so kind of revered, because there's a ton of little kids that come to our games all the time and they look up to these players, and I want you to be good role models. And I just really talk about fit all the time.
Of course, what is that like, obviously, seeing those players fall in love with the campus and commit to Pittsburg State?
It's awesome when they'll say, Coach, we see what you're talking about. And we hadn't, if they'd never been down to Pittsburgh before, and this was their first time on campus as their recruiting visit, then, we let them go around town. We have them talk with admissions office. We take them to Mall Deli, which is a great place here, or, wherever we go. They just get to see it. And then when they talk to us and they're like, we get what you're talking about, that tie to the community, that sense of family, like this is a family place. My program is a family place. And when they see that, feel that fit, and then they commit to here, it's like, okay, we can kind of take a deep breath because someone else feels that special connection that we do.
As a head coach, what is it like getting to see them put on that uniform for the first time versus for the last time as a senior?
Yeah, that's hard sometimes you watch it. They come in, as I call them, my babies, and then they go out and they get excited to put that jersey on, and then you see them grow each year, and the maturity and the growth that I get to see as a head coach from my players that come in as freshmen and leave as seniors or even fifth year seniors, that's really special. And I love that. I love the relationship that we have. I love getting invited to their weddings later on. But when they put that jersey on for the last time and then, they're done, that's really hard, but it's part of the process. And I love that because it means they were really invested in our program and they were connected. And it was just something really great.
What's it like, obviously, as a head coach to see those players go on after their 4 to 5 years and go into either professional volleyball or go into the corporate world?
We don't see as many kids go on to pro volleyball. I've had a couple kids go on and play, but like I tell them, you're here to get your education. You're a student athlete, and you're going to be pro most likely in something other than volleyball. And I think that's what we take a lot of pride in. Is our kids are smart kids. We have a 3.86 team GPA right now. I have several 4.0 kids, but they're going to go be great kids or great leaders in nursing. I've had several nursing majors, business. They go be great teachers, and it's so much fun to watch them transition. And most of my kids have jobs waiting on them when they graduate. And I love that. I love them coming back and saying, hey, I'm a second grade teacher and I get to coach seventh grade volleyball this year. And I love seeing that. And I love hearing their stories. And, and then they come back and they're still connected to Pittsburg State because this is what helped them get there.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
I want to win the conference. I want to make the NCAA playoffs and get in that regional tournament. And that's what we're here for. I'm here because we're supposed to win volleyball games. And I want us to continue to be good in the classroom, to turn out really smart volleyball players. But ultimately, we're supposed to hang banners, and that's what I want to do.
Of course, what advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to get into collegiate volleyball?
Reach out to those coaches. You don't have to go to pay all this money at these recruiting services. You have to put yourself in front of these coaches. You have to email the coach. You have to send them video links. You have to send them your schedule. You have to get in front of them, go to their camps. But you can do all this stuff, but it's hard for us to find you because I'm one coach, maybe 2 or 3 of us on my whole staff. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of athletes that are there. So we need to know that you're interested in Pittsburg State. You need to reach out to us and let us know, hey, I want to know more about Pitt State. I'm, a 6'1" middle hitter from Dodge City, Kansas. Here's my schedule. Come look at me. Okay, great. And then that kind of puts you on our radar. Or, hey, I really like Pittsburg State. I want to go to their volleyball camp in the summer. Good. So that way we can see you, and we can see you in our gym doing our drills with our players. That's the biggest thing, is reach out to us, because we're only a small staff, but there's so many out there.
What advice would you give those college freshmen that are entering their first year of collegiate volleyball?
Learn. Immerse yourself in the program, get in the gym, do extra work. And if you're not playing enough, there's a reason. So you've got to put in the work. You've got to be the best in the weight room. You've got to put in the hours outside of practice time in the gym to get better, and continue to watch. You can't watch enough video, to be really honest. That's what I would say.
What advice would you give those collegiate players that are looking to go play professionally, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or the national team?
They've got to get themselves someone that can represent them and help them find the best fit for them. The players that I've had do that in the past, I've had one player from Houston that was with me at Pueblo, and then a couple of players at Pueblo that one is Venezuelan, one was Dominican, and they already had their kind of international connections because of my Venezuelan had been on the junior national team, and so had my Dominican. So that was easier. But I think it's about finding someone to help represent you, to help you find your best fit.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to get into college coaching and become assistant coaches or even head coaches?
I think that, number one, I want to mentor young people that want to coach. And I think that's it, is like, you have to understand that it's a grind and that it's hard and it's not an 8 to 5. Like, you need to know, number one, it's not an 8 to 5 job. Your phone is on and you're a counselor, a mentor, a coach, a mom sometimes. I mean, you're all of this to these kids. And so you have to understand that you take on a lot of hats. You wear a lot of hats, and it's not a normal 8 to 5 job. And coaching volleyball isn't just X's and O's. It's all the other things that go with it. And so I think you have to be willing to put in the work. I think you have to understand that it's going to be a grind. And I think that you have to just love that game so much, because we can teach you X's and O's. Get into a program where it's a good fit for you. The administration's going to support you. If you're an assistant coach, that you can get along and support that head coach. And then just be willing to learn. Sit in there and watch video. Get in practices. Go to clinics. Go to do these things that can give you more knowledge, and never stop learning.
What advice would you give those coaches that are looking to go coach at their alma mater like you did?
Make connections. I think you have to connect with the administration. I think you have to have some background as far as like, what can you bring to that program if it's open, if that job's available. You've got to reach out and you've got to make those connections with that administration and tell them why you're the best choice for them and what you're going to bring to make that place better. And I think that if you have that proven resume behind you that you can do these things, or you can, help change cultures and all that stuff, then I think that's part of it. But I was really lucky in the fact that that job opened up when I had just flipped a program in 5 years, and everything fell in line. So part of it's luck, but part of it is just making those connections.
What advice would you give those head coaches that are looking to build their own program and build their own legacy?
Establish what's important to you. I think you have to have your own set of standards, like what you're going to be about. You can't be wishy-washy. You have to know, like, who are you and what do you want in this program, and what's attainable, what's possible there. What's your funding like? You have to understand, okay, I want to be this level. Well, how well are you funded? And then set your goals. And then you have to recruit kids that are going to be your fit. And I think you have to establish like your standards. What's my program about? Pride, tradition, team, trust. Those are our 4 standards, pillars of pride in our program. And so that's what we're going to be about. We've established that. I know what my coaching style is. I need to get kids that can handle me and that fit me. And if you know what you're about, then you can build a program around that.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program app?
We are PittStateGorillas.com. We have Pitt State Volleyball on social media, on Facebook. My assistant does a great job with our Twitter and our Instagram. So you can follow us at Pitt State Volleyball, or Gorilla Volleyball, I think is one of them. But we're the only gorilla mascot in NCAA. So Gorillas is Pitt State all the way. So that's pretty easy to find. And we're really proud of that. So we'd love to have, I'm here. I can answer any questions for anybody. I'd love to just reach out and meet young coaches and people that just love volleyball. I just love talking to them.
Thank you again, Coach Jen Gomez, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the head coach at Pittsburg State.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.